Intro, the ultimate hook, extreme retention focus. Imagine waking up one day and discovering that all your money simply vanished. Not because someone stole it, not because you lost your wallet, but because the financial system you believed was unbreakable collapsed. Now, take a deep breath because this has already happened. More than once, and always involving one of the most revolutionary and most feared technologies of the century, Bitcoin. What almost no one knows is that Bitcoin didn't survive by luck. It survived attacks that would have completely destroyed any other digital currency. It has been declared dead more than 400 times, and yet it's still standing. And today, you're going to discover the biggest crisis in the history of Bitcoin, crisis that nearly destroyed the future of digital money, crisis that affected millions of people, and crisis that could happen again at any moment. But before we begin, a warning. The last crisis on this list is still unfolding, and it might be the most dangerous one yet. Stay until the end of the video because you need to understand what's happening right now before it's too late. Topic 1. The first crash, the 2011 collapse in the Mt. Gox hack. To understand why Bitcoin became a symbol of resilience, we need to travel back to when it was still a strange niche experiment on the internet. In 2011, Bitcoin went from a few cents to almost $32. It felt like a miracle. And then the first major disaster hit. The Mt. Gox hack, the collapse no one thought coming. At the time, 90% of all Bitcoin transactions in the world happened in one place, the Mt. Gox exchange, and it was hacked. Suddenly, thousands of Bitcoins disappeared. The price crashed from $32 to just 0.01 cent. Yes, 1 cent. People panicked, forums exploded, investors lost everything. It was Bitcoin's first real test, and for many, it looked like the end. But it wasn't. Bitcoin came back, and this was only the first warning that the crypto world is not for the faint of heart. Soft cliffhanger, but if you think this was bad, wait until you hear what happened next. Topic 2. The 2013 bubble, insane growth, and a brutal collapse. 2013 was the year Bitcoin escaped the underground internet and entered mainstream news for the first time. From January to November, the price skyrocketed from $13 to almost $1,100. Ordinary people started investing, entrepreneurs became millionaires, governments began to feel nervous. And then everything crashed. China's ban. In December 2013, the Chinese central bank banned Bitcoin transactions. The result? The price fell nearly 50% in a matter of days. But this drop opened the door to something even more destructive. The currency for criminals narrative. Mainstream media attacked relentlessly. Bitcoin is used for trafficking. Bitcoin funds terrorism. Bitcoin is dangerous. Investors panicked. The price fell, recovered, fell again. Once more, people believed Bitcoin was finished. But it wasn't. It was only the beginning. Cliffhanger. Because the crisis that was about to occur would become one of the biggest in digital history. Topic 3. 2014, the Mt. Gox meltdown. The crisis that nearly killed Bitcoin for good. Remember the Mt. Gox hack in 2011? That was just the preview. In 2014, Mt. Gox finally collapsed. An enormous hole was discovered, 850,000 Bitcoins missing. At today's prices, that would mean tens of billions of dollars. The exchange declared bankruptcy. Thousands of people lost everything. Bitcoin's price dropped more than 70%. Why this crisis was almost fatal? Because until then, people believed exchanges were safe. The blow was so severe that governments launched international investigations, investors tried to sue the company, analysts declared Bitcoin is a failed experiment. But the most impressive part? Bitcoin didn't die. And even though recovery seemed distant, it proved it was far stronger than most imagined. Cliffhanger, but that crisis that was about to occur would become one of the biggest in digital history. Topic 4, 2017, the Bitcoin Civil War, hard fork. Now we arrive at one of the most dangerous crises because it didn't come from governments or hackers. It came from inside the Bitcoin community. In 2017, a war broke out, a real one. What caused it? The network was becoming too slow. Fees were skyrocketing. Transactions took hours. Two groups emerged. One wanted to increase block size. The other was completely against it. The conflict grew so intense that it seemed Bitcoin would be permanently split. And that's exactly what happened. The birth of Bitcoin Cash. In August 2017, the hard fork took place. Bitcoin split into two separate currencies. The community was shaken, investors were confused. Analysts declared this would destroy Bitcoin's credibility forever. Yet again, Bitcoin moved forward and reached new all-time highs just months later. Cliffhanger, but that record would become the starting point of the next major crash. Topic 5, 2018, the burst of Bitcoin's biggest bubble. At the end of 2017, Bitcoin hit its historic peak, $20,000. It was global euphoria. People lined up to open exchange accounts. Some mortgaged their houses to buy Bitcoin. Even Uber drivers explained how to get rich with crypto. And then the inevitable happened. The 2018 collapse. The market fell violently from $20,000 down to under $3,000. More than an 80% crash. Thousands of projects vanished, companies collapsed, and the world said again, Bitcoin is dead. But it wasn't. This crisis purified the market, eliminating scams and strengthening the survivors. Bitcoin once again rose from the ashes. Topic 6, 2020, the global crisis and the COVID crash. If there's a year the world will never forget, it's 2020. When the pandemic hit, Bitcoin, like everything else, collapsed. On March 12th, the price fell over 40% in a few hours. It was one of the most chaotic moments in the crypto history. But then something unexpected happened, the turnaround. For the first time, major companies started buying Bitcoin as a store of value. MicroStrategy, Tesla, PayPal, Square. Bitcoin recovered everything and climbed even higher. This crisis transformed Bitcoin into an institutional grade asset. But little did they know, the biggest storm was still ahead. Topic 8, 2022, the year everything broke. Luna, Terra, Celsius, FTX. It one year nearly destroyed the entire crypto ecosystem. It was 2022. A chain reaction of disasters. The Terra Luna collapse. A stablecoin that was supposed to always be worth $1 suddenly wasn't. The entire ecosystem crashed to zero. Billions disappeared. People lost life savings. Before the market could recover, Celsius freezes withdrawals. Another massive platform implodes. Investors were trapped with no way out. And then the fall of FTX, the second largest crypto exchange, revealed as its house of cards. Fraud, misuse of client funds, a multi-billion-dollar hole. Bitcoin fell near $15,000. It was apocalyptic. And once more, many believed Bitcoin would never recover. But months later, it began climbing again. Topic 8, the current crisis ETFs, hash rate pressure, regulation, and an uncertain future. Now we reach the most recent crisis and the most complex because it's still happening. Three massive forces are colliding right now. One, miners after the halving. Rewards cut in half, profits down, some miners shutting down machines. Network security at risk. Two, stricter regulations. The US, Europe, and others are passing tough laws. Some could limit exchange operations, others could restrict self custody. Three, ETF domination. Bitcoin ETFs are buying thousands of coins per day. This creates scarcity, but also a new threat custodial centralization. If a few